Rams house. Welcome into a brand new episode of the Rams Report presented by PrizePicks. Guys, on today's show, we've got to talk about a brand new update around Aaron Donald and his potential return from NFL insider via the California Post, Vincent Bonsignore. It's big. It continues this narrative around Aaron Donald potentially returning, which just seems to continue to lurk around this team. The will they, won't they, still going on. But before we get into all that, I want to hear from you guys. So earlier this week, we reacted to a couple of Rams hot takes, that you guys threw in our community tab. But now, because you guys enjoyed that, I want to do a full-length video of hot take reactions. But I need more hot takes. I need more from you guys. So drop them in the comments below for me today. And then later this week, probably on Friday, we're going to do a hot take reaction video, talk about all of the different takes that you guys sent in. So drop them for me in the comments section below, and let's get into it on today's video with the latest from, as I was saying at the beginning, Vincent Bonsignore on Aaron Donald's potential return. Here's what he had to say. Multiple league sources indicate the greatest defensive player in Rams history is seriously contemplating coming out of retirement to lend a massive helping hand to the club, obviously the Rams, Super Bowl aspirations. In the weeks since Donald broached the possibility, he and McVay have remained in communication. And then he continued later on in the article, the sense within league circles is that this could actually happen. So again, we have yet another NFL insider continuing to pour more fuel on the Aaron Donald fire, continuing to add more to this story, continuing to stoke the flames, and for the first time in a little while, right? Because it had been a little quiet on this situation. And the longer it goes quiet, the more you start to get a little worried to some degree. I think at least that's the sense from a lot of Rams fans, that it's no longer going to happen. But I still think it will, guys. Again, I've said this the whole time. Where there is this much smoke, there is almost always fire. We've been hearing this from NFL insiders, from the man himself, from a text from Pat McAfee, from his former teammates like Michael Brockers, who said recently on a podcast, this kind of sparked the whole thing, when he told, I believe it's the LA Rams if I remember correctly, he said, I have some knowledge that others might not have. My guy is staying ready so he doesn't have to get ready. It was Locked On Rams. There it is. It came back to me. Locked On Rams is who he told that to. But again, we've been hearing this narrative around Aaron Donald from a bunch of sources for a long time. But now it kind of brings the question of when are we going to get solid answers here? And so that's what we're going to talk about coming up on today's video. The potential timeline for a decision for Aaron Donald. And I'm going to kind of address what I've been seeing from some sources that there may be a deadline for this decision. So we'll talk about that and whether or not that's true. But before we do that, I got to give a shout out to our presenting sponsor on today's show here at Chat Sports, PrizePicks. Guys, if you are a regular viewer of the Rams Report, you know I love using America's #1 sports picks app to play daily fantasy. But if you're new around here or you've never heard of PrizePicks, there is no better way to cash in on all of the sports action that you're probably already watching, whether it's professional baseball, the World Cup, or season-long action on the professional football or college football. It's never been easier to play than it is with PrizePicks, guys. All you have to do is pick from 2 to 6 players. You're selecting more or less on their stat projections, whether you're picking from points, assists, rebounds, goals, shots on target, goalie saves. They've really got it all, guys. And you can easily tail or fade your friends or your favorite creators in their lineups by using PrizePicks' social feeds feature. It's just like any other social media platform. All you got to do is drop a follow. Like me, you guys can search up my username, Jackson Durham, and drop a follow and see all of my latest lineups, including this one I've got going for today's World Cup action. Erling Haaland, we're going with the more on his goals and assists. We got some Mbappe action here as well. So you guys can tell, you can fade, whatever you do, just do it with our friends over at PrizePicks. And if you're brand new to PrizePicks, make sure you use our promo code when you download the app. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with PrizePicks. The clickable link to download the app is in the comments and the description below. As always, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. Let's keep talking Aaron Donald. And before we do continue, I want to address the segment of the audience out there that I do know exists that's just kind of tired of hearing about this. And I do understand why. I get it. I do. But at the same time, we're not going to ignore the story. Just because he hasn't signed yet doesn't mean we're going to ignore it when there's new reports around this, because I do think it's important that the story continues to build smoke, that the rumors continue to build. It means motion is continuing behind the scenes. Even if it's stuff we can't see, conversations we're not privy to, the fact that insiders are reporting on it is significant, even if it doesn't feel like it's needle-moving information at this point. So I just kind of wanted to cover that. I get it. Some of you guys are a little bit like, can we just wait until he actually signs? I really don't feel like we should. I feel like we should follow every step of this process until we get to that point so we have all of the information. So that's why we're going to continue to cover the Aaron Donald story as it happens, even if it isn't him directly signing. Because again, that's still up in the air. We still don't know that he's going to return 100%, even though it really does feel like he's going to. But if he is going to, is there a deadline? This has been something that I've seen a lot of people start to talk about. The idea that if Aaron comes back, I think I even heard Adam Schefter kind of iterate on this, it has to happen or it will happen by the start of Rams training camp. And to be completely honest with you guys, I don't know about that. So here's the timeline. If you're looking into that, if this is what you're going with, vets and rookies will report on July 25th. Open practices, they have 7 of them between July 29th and August 8th. And then obviously they have joints on August 11th and August 20th. So essentially training camp runs vaguely from July 25th to August 20th. So that would mean anywhere within that window you could get an Aaron Donald return, or in some people's opinions, he has to make his decision by July 25th. I do not believe that is true, for a number of reasons, one of which is the mentality the Rams seem to have around this. We've heard McVay say we'd welcome him back. We've heard Les Snead talk about welcoming him back and wanting Pat McAfee to kind of continue the pressure. Even Chris Scheelhaase, our defensive coordinator, recently commented on it when he was directly asked by media, do you guys want Aaron Donald back? He said, oh, of course, but that's completely up to him. Obviously, we'd love to have him back and would welcome him with open arms. Does this sound like a franchise that's putting any sort of deadline or timeline pressure on Aaron Donald? No. Because, to be completely honest with you, that would be kind of a ridiculous thing to do. It would be kind of a ridiculous thing for the Rams to say, you know what, Aaron Donald, the greatest defensive player of all time, we don't want you back if you're not willing to come back by the start of training camp. No, they're not going to do that. If Aaron Donald wants to come back in week 18, in the middle of the game, the Rams are going to sign him to the roster. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to move mountains to bring back Aaron Donald whenever Aaron Donald wants to come back. I think that is truly the reality of it. There's no deadline for Aaron Donald. It's just a will he decide to do it at the end of the day. But I really don't think there's a timeline requirement. We know he's in incredible shape. I truly think he could suit up and play football right now. I'm not saying he's going to be the Aaron Donald from a couple years ago that retired, but I truly feel that guy could step on an NFL field today and play well for a limited number of snaps. I think he's coming back. We're going to continue to monitor the story as new updates roll in because, guys, I feel like we're getting pretty close to some material ones. Even if it's not a real signing, I think we're getting there. It's just more and more. He posted another video of himself on Instagram today working out, said caption was work, and it just feels like we're getting there. You know what I mean? We are really, really close. But let's talk about a couple of other Rams news topics that you should be aware of before we get out of here on today's show. Starting with Alaric Jackson. Today was a significant date for Mr. Alaric Jackson. It was his first court date in his ongoing off-the-field situation, the charges that he's facing there. We did get an update recently around that in case you missed it. He's no longer facing felony charges in this situation, but he is still facing charges. He's facing misdemeanor charges around domestic battery, I believe is the official term for it. But again, first court appearance for him at this point, facing those misdemeanor charges, which again have been, he was arrested on suspicion of felony battery. So that's why probably a lot of you initially expected it to be a felony. There was initial reporting that it would be a felony, but it is at this point a misdemeanor. But as we've said before, and as I'll continue to say, that alone, and even if he is not convicted of the misdemeanor, does not get him off the NFL's discipline hook, so to speak. And I think it is important to also be aware of the NFL will have heightened discipline around this for two distinct reasons. One, because Alaric Jackson has already violated the NFL's personal conduct policy once in his career due to a 2024 incident in which he was suspended and also faced other charges, a lawsuit from a woman who alleged that he did some, we'll say, grotesque things, to be completely honest with you. And now he's facing additional charges and additional scrutiny from the personal conduct office in a year in which there's been a number of situations that the NFL has had to respond to. There's been a number of off-the-field situations. A lot of this bodes for, if the NFL's personal conduct office feels it is necessary, they could look to make an example of Alaric Jackson at this point, given he is a two-time offender at this point and given the track record of other offenses from NFL players. This is a moment where the NFL might want to say, hey, we're taking things really seriously here and crack down on Alaric Jackson if they feel that that's necessary. Again, not saying that can happen, but just saying it doesn't bode well if the NFL does look for punishment here. It might be pretty harsh. But again, we're going to keep you guys updated on this. If there's an update from the court appearance, if there's updates around this situation in general, we will have shorts out for you guys. We'll continue to cover this in our VODs as we've covered it throughout the cycle. It is, again, it's not my favorite thing to talk about. I'm sure it's not your guys' favorite thing to hear about, but we cover every single aspect of this Rams team, whether it is fun or not. We are your number one source of news, so make sure you are subscribed and do not miss an update around this or anything else around your Los Angeles Rams. Speaking of which, there's been a lot of reports lately that Nate Scheelhaase continues to be of interest to NFL teams. And this should come as no surprise, completely honest with you. But this was from Christopher Knox in an article for Bleacher Report that about 8 coordinators who are likely to leave and become head coaches next year. He said this: if Los Angeles' offense has similar success in 2026, Scheelhaase is likely to draw even more interest than he did this offseason, due in large part to another year of experience under McVay. Scheelhaase is only entering his 3rd season with the Rams, and NFL Media's Daniel Jeremiah reported on the 40s and Free Agents podcast that Scheelhaase impressed in interviews and that his lack of experience, was viewed as his only real negative. Again, I'm not surprised. I can't say that I'm surprised by this at all. It just feels like this has been business as usual for this franchise since Sean McVay came on board. Every NFL team wants to be like us at the end of the day. Imitation is the highest form of flattery, as they say. So to some degree, it is flattering that NFL teams keep coming to us for their coaches, keep trying to rebuild the way the Rams have been able to rebuild under Sean McVay, looking for the next Sean McVay. And it does seem like Nate has found that role. Nate is now the new NFL fixation as the potential next Sean McVay. And everything you hear about the guy, it sounds like he's deserving of it. It sounds like he's been an incredible contributor to our offense. Obviously, he's not the play caller, which I do think contributes to why some teams have a little bit more caution around hiring him. He hasn't had play calling experience at the NFL level yet. He's only been at the NFL level for a couple of seasons since coming over from Iowa State, where he did get play calling experience. But I think 1 year of being the full-on offensive coordinator, I guess co-offensive coordinator with Dave Rigoni, is going to be massively beneficial for his job prospects, so to speak. Because again, he got interviews. He clearly did well in those interviews. He made it to second rounds with a number of different teams, but was ultimately beaten out by more experienced candidates. But another year under his belt, it's going to be harder to ignore Nate and harder for the Rams to retain him. Meaning, likely, another season of turnover at that spot. Or maybe you just keep Rigoni as the offensive coordinator. I guess we'll see how it all ultimately goes. Lastly, before we get out of here, I want to talk about this. And we talked about this in a short yesterday, but I do think, if you missed it, Puka Nacua and his recovery process has been obviously a topic of interest throughout, for not only just Rams fans, but I think the NFL at large. This is the best receiver in our game today, and he has been dealing with challenging issues off the field. But Adam Schefter had this report yesterday, and I talked about this in our 10 most important Rams briefly. It was towards the end of the video, so I thought it was important to bring it up again, and I did put out a short. But Puka's been journaling over this offseason. Adam Schefter talked about how his own experience journaling has been very, very beneficial to him. I made a short being incredibly excited about this news because I think it shows a real commitment to self-improvement from Puka Nacua. But I've honestly been shocked, and it isn't from you guys, to be honest with you, but there's been a really weird response to this. I saw an article come out, I think it was the California Post, that called it odd behavior or an odd response from Puka Nacua. I just don't understand, and this is just me getting into this, but like men looking for self-improvement, men looking to seriously address their mental health is not taken seriously enough, in my opinion. And that is exactly what this is. Puka Nacua is trying to better himself. He is trying to work on his mental health. It's not odd behavior. It is an effort to self-improvement. There's nothing odd about trying to be the best version of yourself. I truly, truly feel that way. But again, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. I just wanted to say my piece on that. I know it's not really news, but that's going to wrap it up. Before you get out of here, give me your Rams hot take. I want to be able to react to some Rams hot takes, but to do that, I need to hear from you guys on them, so drop one in the comment section below for me. And like I said, that video coming either this Thursday or Friday, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. As always, thank you, Ramily, for tuning in, and I'm going to see you in the next one.